guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Diamante. Today we're going to be filming a video that is a little bit more different than what I usually do, but I feel like I owe you guys a video, especially for those of you who have been following my health and weight loss journey over the past few years. With all of that being said, I do just want to start off by saying, like, there is going to be talks about food, weight loss, like all those kinds of things. So if that is something that's triggering for you, please feel free to not watch this video. I completely understand, but I do just want to make sure that I get that out of the way, because I will be as transparent as possible and I'm not going to be filtering what I'm talking about. With all of that being said, I am going to be talking about this in a couple of different chapters per se. So I will have the timestamps for those below if you guys are curious about anything. Another thing I just want to say is, listen, I completely understand if you've clicked on it that you're interested in learning about my weight loss journey this time around, but in the event that you're not, that's okay. You don't have to completely agree with everything that I do. However, I do feel like it is my responsibility to talk about, because I have been in the fitness community space for the past few years. So I do feel like it's my responsibility to be as transparent as possible anytime that I am changing anything that revolves around my routine. And with that being said, I just hope that you guys can be kind and respectful. Like I said, you don't need to understand what I'm doing or necessarily agree with it. But the great thing about living in this country is that I have body autonomy to a certain extent, right? And depending on the state. And so I'm choosing to make a decision with my body that some people may not agree with. I also just want to say that I didn't come to this decision overnight. This is something that I've thought about for at least over a year. And I do have that all documented in therapy. Again, I don't owe you guys an explanation for it, but I just feel for the sake of being transparent, I owe you guys that. So that's the reason that I'm here. So with that being said, I have been overweight all my life. I guess officially, according to my physician, I've been diagnosed as obese. A lot of people within the medical space though that I've spoken to about it, I have friends that have masters in nutrition. I have other friends who are nurses. I have friends who are chiropractors that don't necessarily agree with that prognosis. I don't necessarily agree with that prognosis either. I do think it's a little bit harmful and reactive to kind of label my weight that way. But also I think a lot of the times when physicians are talking about weight, they're talking about it according to BMI. I do have lots of thoughts about BMI. I don't necessarily agree with it. It is rooted in systemic racism. It was created by a mathematician over 200 years ago, and the study was only white men. So that's that. Obviously doesn't keep in mind body composition and all those other things. And yeah, I just don't think it's an accurate way of determining what somebody's health is. But I just want to let you know what my physician has told me about my weight, and so you can do with that information what you will. But like I said, I've been overweight my whole life. I will say that the way that people have monitored my body pretty much goes back to my first year of life. There was often this story told when I was little, and it was about the fact that I was born. I have been born and raised Catholic, and I'm still Catholic to this day, as you guys know. And so when it came time for me to get baptized, my grandma had gone to Colombia to get me a baptism dress, and I guess I had gained a lot of weight during this time. And the story goes that my dress barely fit. And it's a story that people would say at dinners or at family gatherings and stuff like that. And I know that it was meant in good fun, but the policing of my body has been a thing that has happened since I was really little. And so like I said, I've been overweight nearly my whole life. I guess after I was a baby, I guess I kind of grew out of being a little bit overweight. I was a really picky kid. I got sick very often, so I wouldn't want to eat. And because of that, I think I slimmed down for a little bit. And then eventually I was 7, right around turning 8. And my mom always wanted to live in New York. and that was like her dream her whole life. So she made the decision for us to move to New York. And so my mom obviously like had to look for an apartment. So she did leave me with my grandparents down in Miami for a few months. I don't remember how long it was. And I do want to just preface this by saying that like when I talk about my weight and like the things that like encompass my weight like growing up, I don't want to necessarily like put blame on anybody that I'm talking about throughout all of this, because I do think that like my weight specifically is not something that anybody could have been able to control. And I know that my family like at the time, I guess like had limited knowledge and resources regarding like my health and my weight and all those things. But I will say that when my mom was in New York and I lived with my grandparents for a few months, I guess I was pretty sad and I turned to food for that. And I did gain weight when I was with my grandparents. I remember that when we did finally go to New York so that I could live with my mom, I remember like some of the first comments being about my weight and like how much weight I had gained. And this just kind of like continued to be a thing. As you guys know, I used to spend summers with my grandparents, both when they lived in Miami and then when they moved to Colombia. So for me, it was always constantly a thing of like, I would spend 2 months there and then I would come back and be a little bit heavier. However, I would always have my physical and my labs before I would start school again. And the labs would come back healthy, but the concern was always revolving around my weight. Yeah, that was just like always a topic of conversation. And then like the policing of my body kind of like extended out to like other family members, and like they would just make comments about my weight. They would say that I didn't love myself and that I didn't care about myself and that maybe I shouldn't eat like this specific thing. And then obviously like that as a child would make me very upset, and I would not want to interact with those family members. And then it would make me seem like I was conflicted for getting upset with people, which is so bizarre, because I think that especially, you know, as I think about like the way that I was raised and things that I want to do differently when I have children, I would just never allow anybody to make comments about my children's weight. I just think in general, like comments about anybody's like body, their appearance, those things are so inappropriate. And yeah, there's just a lot of things like as a parent that I would not allow around my child. And like I said, I don't blame anybody for the way that I was treated as a kid, but I will say that there's just certain things that I won't be allowing. With that being said, not that like I'm saying that it's an excuse or anything like that, but as you guys know, I am half Colombian, and so Colombian people are like very vain people. I'm not saying that as like something that like I'm being disrespectful about my culture about, but it is like a big reality of like Colombians. Like we're very obsessed with our appearance. We're very obsessed with the way that we look, the way that clothes look on us, like always making sure that like we put our best selves forward. Our weight is a constant thing that we're talking about. Our hair is another thing that we're constantly talking about. So it is like a consistent topic of conversation. Like I said, I don't want to seem like I'm being permissive about anything, but I just want to say that like it's kind of normalized, even though it really shouldn't be. The comments about my weight extended like far beyond my family. I was bullied a lot growing up about my weight, and I was always the chunky one in dance class and then later cheer, but I was never the normal sized one. And so like I internalized all of this so much, and it caused me to be very self-conscious about my weight at a young age. I'll include like a picture of me here when I was like 8 years old, so you guys can kind of see like what I was talking about. And like I just wish I could go back to that 8-year-old version of myself and just give her a hug and tell her that we're so much more than our weight, and it's like such a shame that people will make preconceived notions about you when it comes to your weight. So like I said, I grew up with like a lot of internalized fat phobia from my family. And like I said, like this even extended like into my teen years, like into my college years, like all those things. But what I will say is that I kind of did finally get to a place where I wanted to start a weight loss journey. Okay, so as you guys know, prior to me living back on the East Coast, Lou and I did live in Texas for 3 years. So in 2020, I had gotten a job that required us to move to Texas. And so, you know, I never planned on my first year of living in a new state for me to mainly be indoors. But you know, the pandemic happened literally maybe like the week that I moved was when the first confirmed COVID case was found in New York City. And then I was on a plane the next day and I moved to Texas. I worked in office for like a week, and then after that we were remote for almost a whole year. So the pandemic was obviously going on. It's still going on, right? We're not technically endemic yet. And during that span of time, my grandpa also passed away. And obviously, like, due to us being in the house all the time, you know, like calling people for like their Zoom birthdays and drinking on the Zoom birthdays and just like drinking and catching up with your friends, I gained a lot of weight. A few months later, this was maybe like in July of 2020, we actually decided to go to Puerto Rico. It turned into like this really big family trip, which was really nice. But the thing that I noticed when we went to Puerto Rico was that like my clothes and things did not fit the way that I was envisioning for them to fit. And another thing was that when we were walking around in Viejo San Juan, those of you who have been to Puerto Rico will know, but I was getting so winded when we were walking around in Viejo San Juan because it is lots of hills. And so, I mean, like normal people would probably still feel winded too, like if you're walking around Viejo San Juan all day, but like I felt really winded. And I just felt like for what, like 23 years old, like that just wasn't normal. And so it kind of like made me scared and made me come back home and immediately like pick up a health change and like a weight loss journey. So during this time, I actually became really good friends with one of my neighbors who's actually my best friend now, and her name is Genesis. So shout out Genesis. I know sometimes she watches these videos, but I know that her husband Shaquille does. So shout out to Shaquille too. But during this time, I did meet Genesis, and Genesis was like super fit. I mean, she still is. She has ran like track her whole life. She's actually a chiropractor now, and I did get to watch her become a chiropractor, which was really cool, and like helped her study for all her tests and stuff like that. But I immediately started going to the gym, and her and I started going together. Jen was obviously like going way before I started, but you know, like it was really nice to be able to dip my toe into like the fitness world and have somebody who knew what they were doing and who could like phase me into things without it feeling overwhelming at first. We started going together. She would train me. She would suggest things that I could eat for my nutrition, and it was really great to have an accountability partner. During this time, I did lose a ton of weight. A few months after I started like hitting the gym with her, one of my coworkers from my job at the time I had seen was going to dance class, and so obviously I was still grieving the loss of my grandpa, and I decided to like pick up dance again. And like it helped me really meet new people when I was in Dallas, and it was just great. Like I was able to channel a lot of my grief into that, and I've met so many great people within the dance world, my teachers included, who I love so very much. And I'll like include, if you guys live in Dallas, I'll include their Instagram below, so if you guys want to go to Kumbala, you totally can. It completely changed my life in so many positive ways. So I started hitting salsa class as well, and like because of that, like I started just losing a lot of weight. And then I kind of like hit this plateau maybe around like November, and I was like, well, maybe I kind of need to step it up. So I did see that one of my friends had purchased the fitness program, and she tagged the trainer who facilitated the program. And so I started losing a ton of weight with that program because it was like a group weight loss program. We had like a trainer who would give us our exercises and would give us our meal plans with like the amounts of like how much we were supposed to be eating per week. And the cool thing about it was that it was like a competition. So let's say you had like the most weight loss, they would actually give you money back. Like they would give you your program money back, and then like I think like an extra few $100s. So it made me like really motivated to lose weight, and obviously just like seeing other people in the program and seeing all their progress really helped a ton. So I was able to lose a ton of weight. I had lost at that point maybe a little over 50 pounds, and it was the lowest weight that I had been in a really, really long time. I will say that like it was not a sustainable way for me to lose weight. I could barely season my food. My like workout routine every day would be that I would run on the treadmill for 30 minutes. I would weight train for another 30 minutes, and then I would go to salsa class for like 2 hours, sometimes more, depending on like if I had team practice or not. And it was a lot of work. I will say that I have always been the kind of person that like easily gains weight, but it was very hard for me to lose that weight. Like I worked really, really hard. Like I could never eat cake. I was not allowed to like drink a sip of alcohol or anything like that. And yeah, like it was just really hard. Like I couldn't even go out with my friends to eat. Like I only had one cheat meal a week. So it was just a lot. And then the following summer, which was summer of 2021, I actually wound up going to Puerto Rico again for like the family trip. And I had cut myself shaving because I was gonna wear shorts one day. I had a couple people like in the family tell me like, oh, like take the band-aid off, you're gonna get like a band-aid tan. So I did. We wound up flying back home, and then the next day I actually had to fly to Vegas for a work trip. So I went to Vegas, and then I noticed that like the cut kind of started getting worse and worse. And at first I thought like, oh, maybe it's just like an infection or something, like whatever. And then it got worse and worse over like the span of a month. I actually wound up going to New York a few weeks later, and at this point I had like spots all over my legs. I'll include a picture here so you guys can see it. I had spots all over my legs, and I was supposed to go to a wedding, and I literally like had started getting spots like even on my arms, on my back, on my stomach, like on my neck, on my chest, like all these places. I genuinely thought that I had leprosy, and I know that's like really funny to say, but like I genuinely was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's happening to me. I'm very worried. And then it was maybe like a month later that I finally got checked out. And I know like what you guys are thinking, that like a month is so much time, like 2 months at this point is so much time to let pass that something is like going wrong, right? But at the time, like I didn't have health insurance because health insurance at my previous job was really expensive, and I was not making good money for me to be able to afford to pay for a plan. So I was really nervous. And it's so funny now because like I work in the healthcare space, and like a big thing that the company that I work for focuses on is making healthcare accessible for everybody, because it absolutely should be. I was really nervous to like have to go to the doctor and like worry about getting a bill. And I just was like trying to put off going to the doctor as long as possible. It turns out that I not only had a staph infection, but because of how severe the infection was, I actually wound up triggering the psoriasis gene that I have, and my mom also has psoriasis. So I already knew that this could potentially be a possibility at some point when I got older. Because of that, I was on corticosteroids, and that caused me to gain a lot of weight. Post being diagnosed with psoriasis, it became really, really hard for me to lose weight, and especially like managing flare-ups, because like anytime I'd be stressed out, like I would get like a psoriasis scale or a flare-up and stuff like that. Thankfully, these past 2 years have like really helped me with learning how to manage my stress, and I really haven't gotten any bad flare-ups with the help of like going to see a dermatologist at least yearly. But I can say that I've been pretty psoriasis scale free for a while. But yeah, that triggered me to gain a lot of weight back. Now I'm gonna talk about the third part of this, which is gonna be picking up my health journey again. So I did actually wind up gaining all the weight back that I lost, which is really unfortunate. But at the time I was still, and this was just like true for last year, at the time I was still dancing, and I actually wound up picking up Pilates. I did have a membership to Club Pilates when I lived in Dallas, and I really loved it. I definitely will be doing it again, like once my budget allows for me to do it again. That was me kind of like dipping my foot back into the fitness space, but I wasn't like worried about losing weight or anything like that. Like for me, the big thing was like making sure that like I could fall in love with movement again. And so that's really what I focused on just last year. But another thing that I started to notice was that I started getting really bad foot pain in my left foot. Now, obviously like part of this could be because I had gained all the weight back, and like truth be told, maybe my ankles just like can't sustain like the weight that I'm at, and like that's totally normal. Like there's plenty of women who talk about, or men too, right, who talk about the fact that when they lose weight they're able to tolerate heels for a long time. But specifically like for me in like dance class, because I was dancing salsa, like I needed to wear my heels, and that was like really hard for me. Like I started getting like just really bad pain in my left foot, and I couldn't understand it. But I actually, like since I moved, I was obviously like looking for a house for a few months, and then, you know, just like the craziness with the holidays and all that stuff, I kind of like put my health stuff on a shelf for a little bit. But in like November, it's kind of funny, like I actually, this was maybe like a few weeks before Thanksgiving, I kind of started getting this pain up and down my leg, and this was on my right leg, and I didn't know what it was. And at first I honestly thought like I was having a heart attack, or I thought I was having like a pulmonary embolism, or I don't know. The point is that I watch a lot of Grey's Anatomy, and like I was just like making myself sick. Like I didn't know what it was. I was really scared about it. So I actually wound up going to my chiropractor here, who is also a really good friend of mine. Her name is Elisa, so shout out to Elisa. She's an amazing chiropractor. She's up in the Lake Mary area, and I'll link her chiropractor business in the description as well, so you guys can go see her. Like if you live in the Orlando area, like I cannot recommend her enough, because she has helped me to feel like pretty pain-free the past few months. Like she's been so instrumental to like even like this, like everything that I'm talking about when it involves my health. Like I would not be in the place that I am like today without her help. I texted her about it, and I was like, am I having a stroke? Like did I sprain my ankle? Like what's going on? She actually did wind up seeing me in her office, and she and her fiance, Dr. Anthony, wound up thinking that it was like a cyst. And so literally the very next day I went to the podiatrist. I let the podiatrist know, hey, I have this weird ball in my foot. I don't know what it is. My fiance noticed it a few weeks ago when he was giving me a foot massage, and now I'm having this leg pain, and I'm very scared about it, but I don't think that I was having a heart attack. And then, by the way, since I'm here, I've also been having this really bad pain in my left foot. So I kind of like explained to her my health history too, because I did break my calcaneus bone in my left foot a few years back. I was in a boot for a little bit. I did also do tons of physical therapy, and you know, like especially since I'm older, like I'm not super old, right, but I'm also like not a spring chicken. Like literally anytime that you break something, there's a chance that like that particular thing will never feel like normal again. And I knew that when I broke my foot, but I wasn't expecting for it to still hurt years later, like even when the weather changed and stuff like that. So she did actually tell me that I have very mild arthritis, which is like so embarrassing to say. Like at 27 years old, right, I have very mild arthritis in my left foot. She did give me a steroid shot for my left foot, and I do have arthritis medication that I do take. Like if there's like a day when I'm walking a lot, like a Disney day for example, like I can take it if I want to, but it's not something that like I need to take all the time. But I will say that like the steroid shot and like the arthritis medication have like really helped my foot feel normal. Like, it's bizarre. Like, I never thought that I would get to a point where I felt pain-free with that foot, but now I do. I've been able to wear heels and feel fine, which is really, really nice. That leads me to like the second thing that I want to talk about, which is my right foot, which was the reason that like I even wound up in the doctor's office in the first place. So I told her that I thought I had a cyst, and then she pretty much like confirmed that she either thought it was a cyst or a fibroid. And so my options were either to get an excision or to get an aspiration, which is basically like where they stick this needle in and then they remove the synovial fluid from the cyst. The sac of the cyst still like lives inside your foot, but or like whichever joint it is, because these specific cysts, they're known as Bible cysts or ganglion cysts. Sometimes like people will get them on their wrists. Yeah, like that sac will live in there, and like optically you won't see it, but like the sac would live in there, and the chance of recurrence of the cyst coming back fully is very high. So I actually opted for the surgery because I just felt like that would be the best course of action for me, because chance of recurrence is way lower. She told me it would be a 15-minute procedure, so it was just a matter of like getting all the pre-surgical clearance and all that stuff. So yeah, so I wound up getting the excision. Elena actually wound up coming like right before the holidays to take care of me and to help me out, because since the cyst was on my right foot, post-op I was like not allowed to drive for almost like a whole month. So, you know, she was just here to help take care of me and to really like be moral support for me, because I was really, really scared. And I'm very thankful that I had my best friend here, because truth be told, like it was a really scary thing. And I'm just thankful that I had a really successful surgery and that now it's something that I can talk about and laugh about. Since then, I've been feeling really good about it. But I will say that the reason for me even like doing all these things like with my feet is because like I wanted to start working out again and eventually dancing again and going back to Pilates again without feeling like I was in pain. When I got my labs and my pre-surgical clearance and I spoke to my primary care physician, I told her that I did want to start losing weight, and I explained to her my concerns about the fact that like it was really hard for me to lose weight but very easy for me to gain weight. Like even if I'm just like stressed out, like I will just gain weight because my cortisol levels just like shoot up and like I just gain weight. I told her I had been thinking about potentially getting on GLP-1 medication. I did get my labs done. All my labs did come back clear. I will say that I still do have suspicions for having PCOS, but I do need to go to an endocrinologist for that, and I just like haven't done that piece of my health journey yet. But I've been doing other things like working towards my health journey to kind of like just feel like healthier. So I do eventually like plan on getting an official prognosis for that, if it is that I do have it, or if there's something else maybe hormonally that's wrong. I've been struggling, like I said, my whole entire life with losing weight. I've literally done like every single like thing that I can think of. Like I remember when I was in high school and I got onto the cheer team, that summer I literally did not eat a carb. I've obviously like done weight loss like I guess like the most natural way, and that again like was not sustainable for me. And so this time around, like I obviously like want to lose weight, but just have it be something that's not hard. And this is not like me saying that I feel like weight loss is easy, but I just don't think it should be as hard as it has been for me, because when I do get into this space where I want to lose weight and feel healthier, it kind of consumes everything, and like I can't have this take up so much of my life anymore. And I know that this isn't like for everybody, and I will just say that like I completely understand like if you don't agree with it, but this is more than just like me wanting to change my physical appearance. This is also just like a feeling for me. And you know, like I do feel like this time around, as I'm picking up my health and like fitness journey again, that I do feel like there's things that I'm doing like the right way this time that I didn't get right the first time. Like now that I have access to therapy, I've been able to work on healing a lot of my relationship with self, and like healing the way that I talk about my body.
Being positive about my body is important, because
and things that like revolve my physical appearance that I did not get to unpack the first time around. Weight loss and like health and all those things, you do diet and you do put yourself in a caloric deficit and you obviously go and work out, but the thing that people I think don't talk about nearly enough is like how mental this all is. And so I feel like this time around, now that I have therapy, it's just been like an extra facet. You know, like I've talked about like chiropractic care and pain management, like being able to work out your brain and like process things as you're going through them. And there's things like for me that come up from my childhood, even this time around, that I'm losing weight, that I never realized that I internalized prior to like going to therapy and talking about it as like I'm going through this big change in my life. I just feel like this has been like the missing thing that I feel like I needed to just help me feel better about losing weight. Because I will say that the first time around when I lost weight, people would, I mean, and I know that they would say it to like compliment me, but there would be people who didn't really even know me who would be like, oh, like you've lost so much weight. And it's crazy because, you know, you just like think to yourself, and maybe this is just me, like I don't know if everybody else has this experience, but I will say like it made me really sad because I would just think to myself, is the only thing that people see is just like this fat girl? Yeah, it just made me really, really sad because I just feel, and I've like really been working on this mantra a ton, I'm so much more than my weight. And honestly, like you should feel that way too. This is gonna be called the why. So for me, like I said, like I've done all the things that I can to lose weight. It's been so hard for me to lose weight. I hate to even like say it, but like I have not always had like the healthiest relationship with food. Like there'd be days when I was like in my like weight loss journey the first time around that like if I missed my eating window, I would just not eat. Like I said, I've done the whole no carb thing before. I'm also an emotional eater, so like if I'm bored, like I'll eat, or like if I'm sad, like I'll go and I'll like treat myself to something sweet. And like I know that's not very healthy. And so for me, like I just feel like getting on GLP-1 medication is gonna be good for me because it's gonna teach me healthy eating habits. I haven't discussed which GLP-1 medication I'm on, but if you've already seen the title of this video, then you'll know that I am on Wegovy. Well, not on it yet, but as of this week, I will be on it. I also just want to say that the reason that I've even decided on doing this is because I do have the privilege to. Elena put it best. She's like, if you have the access to those things, like you should absolutely do it. So I just feel like I have the tools to maybe do something different this time around, and I think that it will be really great for me. I'm not expecting for me to just take this medication and, you know, like feel like this is gonna be the magic fix and like boom, I'm just gonna be a skinny legend. But I will say that I feel like this is supplemental to all the other things that I'm doing. You know, like I am getting chiropractic care, I'm going to therapy, I'm going to the gym, I'm eating clean, all those things. I'm like really making an effort to like be active and like walk more and just like move my body more. And so now I can kind of like finally start to get the results that I've been working towards. So I think that it'll be really good for me. Just some other reasons why that I kind of want to talk about, and I know that like I just want you guys to know that like these things are true for me. Like they don't necessarily have to be true for you, and I'm not expecting for everything that I say to be things that necessarily resonate with you. Like maybe you're just watching this video because like you're one of my friends and you actually like genuinely like want to see like why I'm deciding to do this. And like maybe you've never like even had to lose weight ever in your life, and you've been skinny your whole life and you've never had to worry about eating an extra slice of cake at a party. That's really great for you. I have not ever like had that, but I will say that like for me too, this is like really important because as you guys know, Lou and I are engaged. We haven't booked anything yet, and the reason why is because like we're budgeting towards our house first for that. But also the other thing too is like, I do want to give myself time to be able to lose weight, and I want to be able to pick whichever wedding dress I want for my wedding day. That isn't to say that like I feel like my current body isn't good enough for a wedding dress, but it's just like it's not like what I envision in my head. And I'm not saying that like you need to have a specific body type for a specific dress, but I am saying that like I feel like that's true for me. I just want to fit into like whichever dress I want, and to not feel like I don't have the body type for that specific dress. I worked as a stylist for so long, and you know, like you learn a lot about what kinds of clothes complement which kinds of body types. I just like want to feel confident on that day, especially because I will be wearing white, and white is not a slimming color. I think it kind of like enhances things that like I might feel insecure about. So yeah, like I just want to feel like confident on that day, and that's really important for me. Like I've kind of been saying already, I just like want to make sure that I emphasize that like any body is a great body. So if you're plus size and you're body positive in your current size, that's amazing and I celebrate you. However, like for me, like I just personally don't feel confident or good in my body. Heavy on like the good in my body. Like I'm 5'4". Later on in this video, I will be giving like all my stats prior to me starting the medication, so that way like we can all track all of my progress together. But I'm 5'4" and I'm over 200 pounds, and like I will say that it is like really hard on my body. My joints hurt every day when I run on the treadmill. My knees hurt, and like I just personally feel like this amount of weight on my body is painful, and I just like can't feel that way for the rest of my life. Like I just want to say it's not normal to be in pain, like at least for me. Like I still feel really young, and I don't feel like I should be in as much pain as I'm in. And like another thing too is like sometimes like I will get psoriatic arthritis, and I just don't need to have like an extra thing to like enhance that when I do feel stressed out. So I would rather like live my life pain-free, and that's just like me. Like I said, everybody feels differently about their body, and that's totally okay too. But I'm just saying like what feels good for me. Another thing too is that like I would love to be able to have kids someday. Lou would also love to be able to have kids with me someday, and I don't want to have to worry about having gestational diabetes. I don't want to have to worry about preeclampsia. Like I don't want to have to worry about any of those things. Like I want to be able to, God willing, like get pregnant easily and be able to carry at like full term, not have any complications. And I also want to make sure that like I have an easy labor and delivery, and I also have an easy recovery postpartum. And so that's why it's important for me to like prioritize this now, because like if I'm being honest with you, like if I was to get pregnant tomorrow, I would be really scared, because I just feel like after like the 9 months is up, like I could easily be 300 pounds. And I'm telling you, like I physically don't feel like I can gain any more weight than this, because like my body just like can't tolerate it. And that's just like me. Like I know not everybody feels that way, but like I'm just talking about me specifically and what I feel like my health limitations are. So that's that. Other things that I like am looking forward to, and like things that are like my why, like why I'm going on this GLP-1 journey, is like I want to be able to go into a fitting room and not feel anxious, and not feel like I have to ask the sales associate for another size, and not feel like I am not going to be able to fit into any of the clothes. And I want to be able to go into the beach and wear whatever bathing suit I want, and not feel self-conscious, and feel like I can take pictures at the beach and not worry about the way that I'm gonna look or what angles I'm taking the pictures at. The biggest thing that I will say is like longevity, right? Like I want to be able to live a long time. Cardiovascular diseases and diabetes run in my family, and I obviously like need to make sure that I get ahead of the curve. With that being said, I do want to just talk about Wegovy specifically. Like I don't know about any other kind of semaglutides or anything like that, but I will talk about Wegovy specifically. I will say that I actually did read a tweet the other day, and it talked about the fact that Wegovy reduces heart attacks, and Wegovy has actually just become the first weight loss medication to also be approved in helping prevent life-threatening cardiovascular events for adults. In a clinical trial of over 17,000 patients, the Wegovy group had a 20% reduction in the cardiovascular events compared to the placebo. Wegovy is just one of the 3,000 FDA approved drugs. So just imagine all the other additional diseases that could potentially benefit from semaglutides. Another thing here that like I want to talk about is like I actually just watched that like Oprah Winfrey special on GLP-1s, and I'll add the title in the description because I can't remember it off the top of my head if I'm being honest with you. But like imagine if we talked about obesity as a disease and not as like a character flaw, right? Not once in this video have you heard me talk about the fact that like I want to feel beautiful, because in my mind like I don't think that like fat is a synonym for ugly. I do feel like obesity is a disease, like it is so mental. I just wish that more people would lessen the stigma that is involved when it comes to treating obesity and when it comes to accessing drugs like these. In part for me it is because I do want to look better, but like the biggest component I will say for me is like my health, and that I just really want to feel better and that I want to live a long time. I wanted to make sure that I filmed this video because I do want to kind of like have a diary of this, and just to be able to like show people that like they're not alone. And I know that this feels like a very polarizing thing, and I don't feel like I've seen enough people talk about the way that they feel aside from like the physical side effects. But I will say like me specifically, I am really nervous about it, and I have been praying a lot to just make sure that everything goes well and that this finally gives me the results that I want, and that it kind of just like really helps kickstart my journey, because I am like fighting for the rest of my life, right? Like I'm fighting to be able to live like past 60. So it is really important for me to be able to like document this and kind of just have this be like a testament of my journey. And hopefully this is something that like you guys will also be able to pick up, whether you're starting your journey or whether like you're in the middle of it or whether you're thinking about picking it up again, whatever it is. The final piece of this that I want to talk about is kind of like just how to support your friend or your family member or your partner. I will say that like I've had some really great green flags about this. The first being that I've had one of my friends ask me like, how can I support you? Is there anything that like you don't want to talk about? So just like ask like what that specific person's boundaries or triggers are. The big thing that I will say, especially like the first time around when I lost weight, is like ask those people how they're feeling. Like don't just comment about their appearance. Like sometimes people do want to hear a compliment about their appearance. That's not everybody necessarily. So ask that person like, how are you feeling? Like, are you sleeping better at night? Like, how are you feeling when you go up the stairs? Like, how are your clothes fitting? Like those kinds of things I think will make all the world of a difference to people, especially like anxious people like me. Like I'm just a nervous Nelly all the time, and I'm really working on it in therapy. But you know, sometimes I do just need my friends and like all the people around me to just kind of like comfort me and just like hype me up and just let me know like I'm so proud of you and like you're being so brave. Like those things for me make a difference. And then again, like I know I said this already, but like just remind them that they're so much more than their weight. I think like the biggest thing here is that like you should just be happy for like them wanting to self-improve, because I think that like in some way we all in some capacity want to self-improve, right? Like whether that's that we want to get like a nicer car or like a bigger house, or like we want to get a better job, or you know, we're constant works in progress. And so I just think it's important to just support those people with whatever it is that they choose to do, because at the end of the day, like we only have one life to live. And like I don't know about you guys, but for me, like I'm tired of living my life scared, and I just want to be able to live my life and feel confident. And I deserve that. Like I deserve to have those things, and I deserve to be able to wear a pair of shorts and not have to worry about my thighs chafing. And I just want to feel confident, and I just want to feel good about myself. That's like the forefront of my mind for me. And the final thing I'll say is just be kind. Like I said, I know that like for some people they may not really understand like the extent as to why whatever person in your life is like choosing to get on this kind of medication. You know, like there are a lot of people that will report that like they don't have the best side effects with the medication and stuff like that, but I would just like be happy for that person and just be kind, right? Like I said, like you don't necessarily have to understand it, but like you absolutely should respect it. That's all I have to say. Like I said, I will be documenting my day-to-day, my meals, my progress. You guys will be able to see like all the things, not just my weight, but like other aspects of my health and that I'll be talking about. Like I haven't started the medication yet, but I will say I've been hitting the gym for almost 2 months, and like there's things happening in my body at a very slow pace that I'm already seeing. Like I've already lost a couple pounds, which is like not only thing that I'm looking at, but I was able to run a mile today for the first time and have it feel easy, which was really big for me. Like I never like have miles like that, or at least I haven't in a while, and so I forgot what that was like. But it's amazing to see like just the way that like your body remembers things and the way that you can kind of like pick things back up. Your body is like an amazing living thing, and it's just amazing to see like how much your body remembers. And another like amazing thing for me today was my leggings actually fit loose today, and I didn't have to wiggle nearly as much as I usually do to put my leggings on, and so that was a win for me too. So yeah, like I will say like those things alone made me feel really good today. And I don't know, like I just have such a sense of mental clarity now that I've been going to the gym more often. I do feel less anxious, so I'm excited to like add this specific facet into my health and weight loss journey. I hope that this was at least helpful for you guys, and if you've made it all the way until the end of this video, I am so grateful. But I do just want to thank you guys all so much for being part of my journey, and those of you who have been so supportive. It really means so much to me, like more than you know, and I'm just happy that I'm able to talk about this and like have the privilege of talking about this. If you guys have any questions about anything, please feel free to DM me or anything like that. I'm so happy to like answer any questions that you guys have to the best of my ability, because I am still learning and navigating this in real time. I just want to thank you guys so much again for watching, and I hope you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Stay tuned for what we have coming up, because like I said, I'm very excited and I just can't wait to talk about this journey more with you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Okay, bye.